Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Craig?
I open Twitter and find that March Madness is done for good. Shit, dude, you made me wait so long I forgot the rest of the words that I was going to sing. That's on you.
Yeah, the listeners don't know this, but I'm about 20 minutes late getting here with Craig. In full disclosure, it's been a hell of a day, man. Oh, my gosh. For those of us who work in, public schools, it's just kind of been like this waiting game for, okay, when's the shoe going to drop? When's it going to happen? When's it going to, it finally happened today. They closed our school, and actually didn't close it. We're closed. Tomorrow will be our last day. Friday will be our last day. So, but yeah, finally dealing with that. Parents, kids, everybody's kind of angsty about it, but at least now we got a little resolution.
Yeah, I always think it's kind of funny when they delay, like they did for Disneyland too. They delay these things for the next week for the sake of convenience, but
right.
It's like, but what was the purpose of doing it in the first place then?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to put parents out like a day, like I get it, like the day before,
right.
But at the same time, it's like, if it's that dangerous, then maybe they shouldn't be going to school tomorrow, which I'm sure a lot of kids won't actually.
Yeah. I was talking with Sarah about that. I was like, we were both speculating how many kids will actually be at school tomorrow.
I wouldn't have went to school when I was in high school.
Yeah, on next week's podcast, we'll give you a little update about the school. I don't know what we're going to do. So last year we were like, what are we going to talk about? And then we were like, oh, everything worked out great. This year, I really don't know what we're going to actually talk about for the next, 3 months or whatever, however long it takes. I don't know. But
today we have plenty to talk about. Next week maybe we'll do a retrospective of the basketball season, and then I am out of ideas.
Yeah. We'll have to think of something. I don't know. You're pretty creative. I'm going to lean on you for that one.
God damn it. Never reveal your skills, people. Then
that's absolutely true. Yeah, it's like don't ever let people know what you're capable of, because if you do, people will expect that from you.
Exactly.
It's good advice at work. Yeah. Well, this is Podcast versus Everyone, right?
Yeah, this is Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. As far as I know, coronavirus free. And with me is Jeff Newser.
I may or may not be coronavirus free. I don't know. I've been hanging out in a building with, 2,000 people for the last, 2 months while it's been spreading unabated. So,
yeah.
So as far as I know, I don't have coronavirus, but since I live in the United States of America, even if I did, I'd really have no way of finding out. So
that's true.
I'd go in there and be like, I think I should be tested. And they'd be like, get to the back of the line, asshole.
You got to travel to Australia.
Have you traveled to Australia? Have you gone to China? Have you been to South Korea? No.
Well, if you go to Australia, they'll test you like Tom Hanks.
That's right.
And you'll find out.
If Tom Hanks had been in the United States,
or
we still wouldn't know.
If you played for the Utah Jazz.
That is also true. If I was an NBA player, I would be tested. Yeah, it's I saw as of this morning, it was like 7,000 people total tested, and I know that that's obviously much higher now at the end of the day, but 7,000 people total in America tested, and 58 of those are the Utah or our NBA players. So because everybody's life matters in America.
That's the standard proportion of NBA players
to the general population.
Well, I brought that up with Amanda, and her being a nurse practitioner, she actually didn't think it was that crazy because they did have someone in the locker room that would tested positive, so it would make sense to test everyone else.
I also did hear when I was listening to All Things Considered this afternoon, they did say that those tests came at the behest of the Oklahoma health authority down there. They were the ones who came in and were like, okay, we need to test y'all. So
and then Mr.
So it
Rudy,
seems like there weren't a lot of strings pulled, but still.
Mr. Rudy Gobert looks like the biggest idiot in the United States.
Yes,
right
he
now,
does.
It's
Oh,
a big
goodness.
competition at the moment, but
It really is.
but yeah, he. I mean, like, just talk about your all-time backfire, just trying to be a smartass. And
Well, the hilarious part is, I mean, it's not really hilarious, but it's like the part that's like, just kind of most incredible about it is, he was like, look at me. I'm not scared. I'm going to touch all y'all's microphones because I'm not going to get sick from you. Except it was like, ha ha, joke's on you guys. The sickness is going the other direction.
yeah, I'm sure his teammates are pretty pissed at him right now.
Well, and like other players on other teams who have, played against him for the last week. There was let's see, I saw on SportsCenter there was a referee that got in between him and another player during a shouting match, and you can very clearly see like saliva flying through the air. So basically, this referee got spit on by Rudy Gobert in the last few days. So good for that guy. Way to go.
But yeah, you could say kind of Rudy Gobert was the first big domino.
Yeah.
That led to basically all sports being canceled or suspended, including I know my favorite time of the year, and I think yours as well.
Yep.
The NCAA tournament, March Madness, will not be happening in any form this year. And then, of course, the conference tournaments were halted in their tracks, at least the ones that were still going, including one Big East game at halftime.
Yeah.
It was wild. It's just been wild the last 24 hours how it's evolved to the point where while they're playing the games on Wednesday night, all the conferences decide, tomorrow we're going to have no one in the stands except for, essential people. And then it's funny, that Big East game, when it tipped off, I found it curious what they thought was essential. The bands and cheerleaders were there.
I know. I was like, wait a minute. Like, isn't the band there for, like, the fans? And then there's no fans, man. Like, I don't know about that decision.
I don't know why. Like, I can understand maybe, the radio, TV, maybe some reporters, and and I guess family. But why did all these other people?
Yeah.
But now, of course, like in the middle of that game, Big East was getting a shitload of shit for still playing, and then it was interesting. I think I kept checking back to see if they would do it during a media timeout, but they obviously made a decision to wait till halftime, and then said, nope, it's all done. The ACC one was pretty interesting. Basically, like, Florida State and the other team were about to take the floor, and they were like, nope. The ACC commissioner basically got on the floor on the mic and said, hey, we're not doing this. Go home. Like, sorry.
Yeah.
And then they gave Florida State the trophy for the ACC championship.
That's fantastic.
And the video is just like, they're like,
I have not seen that.
Cool, thanks. Like, they're
That's
like,
amazing.
This is weird. They're like, you guys get the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. And they must all be thinking, like, that's going to happen.
Yeah,
now.
that ain't happening either.
Like, that's not going to happen.
Oh, my God.
And, of course, like, the NCAA waited longer than most to cancel the tournament. You'd see, like, Big Sky tournament canceled. Eastern Washington gets the automatic bid, and you're like, okay, automatic bid to what? Like, they're not going to cancel all the conference tournaments and then hold the NCAA tournament. There's no way they're going to do that. Especially after everything.
I don't know, man. There was a thought that maybe the NCAA is just that greedy. Maybe.
Man, that would have. I mean, but at that point, you already had teams and conferences pulling out. Like, so,
that was the big thing.
Like,
Duke was like, "Yo, we're done."
And then the ACC banned all competitions, and then Kansas and the
Kansas was like, "We're not going to the NCAA tournament."
The Pac-12 had not only banned, their competition. They said all competitions, so that could have technically extended to the tournament as well. So
Right.
really, like once you start looking at that, like if all these, you basically half of your field is gone. And you turn it into the CBI at that point.
I don't know. Should the NCAA have just gone, you know what? Fine. Screw all you guys. We'll take people who want to play. And then Wazoo's like, we'll play.
We'll play.
We'll play. We'll go to the NCAA tournament. It'll be like when the NFL had scabs or something.
Yeah.
It's like the replacement. Someday they'll make like a 30 for 30. What if I told you that a virus was sweeping across America?
They definitely
64
will make
schools were brave enough to play in the tournament. This is 30 for 30.
Yeah, it's pretty well. I mean, we'll definitely look back and be like, this is. I mean, I hope.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
someday when we are like old, we're gonna be like, remember that? That was some crazy shit.
Crazy. Yeah. That's so. Yeah. It's. I mean, I don't think I've fully wrapped my head around today, and just watching, because already like, I was supposed to have a very busy like March, April, May, and I've already had 3 different work trips canceled. We have a trip to Disneyland planned in the middle of April that is teetering on the brink. And the conference that we were going to San Diego for as part of that, Amanda's conference, is canceled as well. So
yeah.
But we have a non-refundable hotel, and a non-refundable VRBO by Disneyland. So we're like, okay, we'll still go if we can. Disneyland will, they'll probably be closed. So that's canceled. Our Rage Against the Machine concert is postponed. That was supposed to be in late April. I was supposed to have a fly out the next day to a conference in Florida, and then 2 weeks later fly to another conference in Florida. I have a feeling all of these things will be eventually canceled. Now I don't know what the fuck to do, and I have all this time, but there's no sports to watch. Yeah, there's you're just gonna be you would have been free and clear to watch the tournament, and you can't.
Dude, it would have been my dream. Like, I just would have watched sports for, 6 weeks. But this whole fucking thing is all over the world. I'm not even going to get soccer out of this shit.
Well, yeah,
like, I'm not going to get, like...
Arsenal's manager.
Yeah, like, the Premier League is going on. And we were like, yeah, right, that'll last, like, maybe a week. No, it's not even lasting a week. Like, we've already got one manager down with the coronavirus, which means... who knows how many of his players got it, and just, whatever. I mean, it's only a matter of time before, the UK is having the same issues. So, whatever. I mean, the UK, though, they're definitely not dangerous. We should definitely let them fly to the US unabated. So, coincidentally, that's where, did you know that coincidentally, that's where all the president's golf properties are located?
Who knew?
That's weird. I don't know, but nowhere else in Europe is safe, but except for those 2 places where the president owns stuff. But
he did take some time today to congratulate the leader of Ireland on how well the UK is handling the coronavirus.
Yeah, right.
The Ireland is not in the UK for those people who are confused.
Yes.
Anyways, Peck. Man, that was some old school pod.
That was some old school Coastal Elite stuff right there.
Coastal Elite,
for people who listened to us like a year ago when we started this thing, and we were like, let's talk politics.
Might come roaring back because we ain't got shit to talk about.
Yeah, this is a tough one to leave politics out of. To be honest,
yeah, this has been like a pretty wild day. In just
I'm exhausted from just following everything. Like, I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was like, I had a pretty unproductive day at work just because focusing was so difficult because it's just like one after another things, and then you're just waiting for that NCAA tournament one.
Right.
Like, you're like, when the hell's the XFL gonna do it?
Right.
All this. And yeah, like I said,
is anybody going to be ballsy enough to play so that we have something to watch?
Like I was saying, my like social calendar, like Sounders match in 2 weeks, gone. I was thinking I would get to go to more Sounders matches because like these business trips are canceled. No, those are gone too.
Right. It's like wiping out everything. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, but
like
I can't
it's
go
not
to
like we get time for whatever. Like it's legitimately like everything that you might want to do that involves going someplace with people is no. Like they canceled freaking Disneyland.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's serious.
Yeah, well, I had a half marathon, and Amanda was running a 5K.
Yep.
On Saturday, that got canceled. Obviously, I mean they had no choice because of the 250 person thing.
Yeah.
So we get the opportunity to run a virtual run, which means just
run
it and then tell them what your time was. Like it's on the honor system. It doesn't count towards anything. Like it's not an official time.
I ran my half marathon in 1 hour and 26 minutes.
Yeah, which some people can do.
No lie.
Not I. But I've been training for that for months.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I trained for a half once upon a time. It took me months and months. I'd be fucking irate if I training
really
didn't
excited.
end up in running the race.
I had like a time target, and I was really excited because I know I was going to hit it. And but I am going to run like on Sunday, just run a half marathon distance.
Yeah.
Just because of, well, fuck it, I trained for it. But yeah, that social thing, like Defiance games and Sounders games and Mariners games and are delayed, and obviously watching the NCAA tournament, the conference tournaments, which I love. Like this is always one of the best weekend. This weekend and the next weekend are two of my favorite weeks. This is like basically my favorite like stretch of the year, and then obviously, who knows about the Masters, and which I'm not that big into that, but I know some people really are. Pour one out for all the gamblers out there.
Well, like think of like I mean I know this is I don't know. It seems maybe a little obvious, but it's, think of all of the people affected by it. Well, like, okay, so like schools is one where people don't always think of all the effects, right? Like, so when people are like, why don't they just close the schools? It's like, well, it's not really quite that simple. There are a lot of families that frankly don't have anything to do with children other than send them to school, right? And so if you take that away, particularly it's one thing if it's like for a day for snow. It's another thing if it's like we're talking like 6 weeks, right? Like that's a huge, huge deal for a lot of families. And then you start talking about the number of kids who, get 2 meals a day at their school, right? I mean, that's like a really, really big deal. And just all the people who work at schools, like, so teachers, I'm at this point, I'm fairly certain I'm going to get paid through this whole thing. But then it's like there are people who work hourly, like our,
bus drivers,
our custodians, bus drivers, kitchen workers, para-educators, like all these people are hourly. So are they going to continue to get paid? Like it's like there's a lot that, is a part of this. And so, sports, same deal. I mean, there's an entire economic industrial complex built around sports, right? And it involves, it's not just the players. I mean, they're going to get paid and the owners are going to make their money eventually and whatever, but you think of all the, the arena workers and the security and I mean, just all the people that it takes to make sports happen. And, all of a sudden all those people are out of jobs for an indefinite amount of time. That's, it's a really big deal. And, there's a lot of money wrapped up in that. And, it's just the whole thing all around is a pretty big bummer. And I don't know that there was any way to avoid this eventuality. It probably should have been done, a couple of weeks ago, but I think we probably would have gotten here one way or another at some point. So, it happens and it's definitely going to be weird. And I know that now I have no excuse not to read all the books I have piled up that I've been like, oh, I don't have time to read that. I got Sounders to watch. So, and I'll probably have to spend time with my family, I guess. So, I don't know. Probably go hiking and, other kinds of, as long as the weather holds out. Probably
Amanda said to me, I was like, I have nothing, like my busy couple of months has now become very boring. She's like, I guess we'll have to plan outdoor adventures. I'm like,
I definitely have no excuse to not run now. So, I'll have to take care of that. Definitely not going to the YMCA though. Ooh, buddy.
I went to the Y the other day. I didn't know if it was emptier because of coronavirus or emptier because it's March and everyone's giving up.
Yeah, and I feel like
things.
I know the one out here. I imagine that, you know, so you're in Tacoma, so they're all connected. It's Tacoma, you know, Pierce County, whatever. But I feel like they're staying open just because if they close, then they can't collect the membership fees. If they stay open, it's like, hey, you know, we're open. So, you know, I don't think they can take a month of not collecting membership fees. And again, you know, the same thing. It's like, you know, there are people with jobs there and, you know, I mean, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely did not let Atticus go to wrestling practice last night, though. That was a no-go. No getting up close and tight with another kid slobbering on you. So
I'm sure that's all canceled at this point as well.
It is not canceled yet. So if you can believe that.
No.
So
yeah. But yeah, it's you know, you're talking the impacted obviously in sports. The players are fine, or the professionals they're fine. They're still going to get paid.
Yeah,
at least in the major leagues.
Yep.
But then you of course have all the staff for these games, particularly the events. You know, all these locations for March Madness, where all these people are going to be staffing these things, and now the arena is going to be empty. There's not going to be anyone there.
Surrounding restaurants, hotels, like all that
you think
stuff.
about Sounders. I was looking at, you know, one of my favorite places to frequent before Sounders and Mariners matches is Collins Pub.
Oh, love that place.
They tweeted today. Let me just find it so I get it exactly. And I asked them to follow up, but I didn't get a follow up. But valued pub guests, we are open today, tomorrow, closed this weekend, and we'll evaluate next week's plan in the next couple of days. I'm no quitter. And if the decision is to close the restaurant, it'll be one of the most difficult things I've done in my life. That sounds pretty permanent, not just not just a decision to close, you know, in the time being. And that's when you think about these restaurants have very, you know, thin margins, and probably being closed for a week can kill them.
Yeah. And astronomical rents being located at Smith Tower.
Yep. So yeah, I'll be pretty bummed that's you know, that's an example I've seen on you know, one of my places I used to frequent, Three Magnets in Olympia, that their restaurant portion, they get a lot of people coming in and watch games and stuff, but like even before that, it's just people not going out as much. They had a 20% dip last week in tickets, and so yeah, you're seeing a lot of that. I've seen a lot of recommendations from people try, you know, if you can support your local businesses, like get takeout.
We went out tonight. Went out tonight and ate at our local Mexican restaurant out here. So.
Yeah, we went over to Beer Storm nearby and and then ate from the food truck there and everything. Yeah. And then you know, but hey, if you don't like, you can obviously try to get takeout. I mean, I could still see if you're afraid that the person handling your food is ill, so I don't blame anyone. But if you feel like you're fine and you feel confident enough, it'd probably be good to not totally pull back all your money from all those businesses, because you're going to be pretty sad if they're not there when this is all over.
I mean, unless they spit on your food, you're probably okay.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
You know who the real victim is here, Craig? Gonzaga.
Oh, yeah.
Craig, official statement from Gonzaga. This was when the NCAA decided not to have fans. So, now, the context, the full context, of course, is that they're hosting in the Spokane Arena, right? So Idaho is hosting in Spokane Arena, which means that Gonzaga gets to play there because they're not actually the host. So this was their official statement. We recognize the difficult conditions that forced the NCAA to make this decision. The current situation is very disappointing for our student athletes and coaches, and it will have an undeniable impact on their experience. They've worked their whole lives for this moment, and due to the circumstances, they are going to have a diminished experience. We have an amazing amount of support in the Spokane community, and we are disappointed for them to not be able to be in attendance and experience the games.
How many times could you use the word experience?
And disappointed.
Don't they have Grammarly? Like, it just tells you. Like,
it just tells you using
even
the
the
word
free
too much.
even the free version, it just tells you that you've used a word too much.
Dude, like, and it was so funny too because this was last night that this came out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, which is how fast everything happened. But it comes out last night, and literally everyone else is like, man, this sucks, but man, we got to stay healthy. We got to do what's right. We totally get it. Gonzaga's the one like turd in the punch bowl going, wah, poor us.
Well, I'll say in kind of cosmic timing, while I was watching ESPN today, and they were kudos to them, like their coverage has been actually really good.
They're built for this.
SportsCenter has been more watchable for this than most cable news outlets and stuff. So they had Mark Few on, and while Mark Few was on, they broke Neil Everett, I think, was interviewing him, and Neil Everett got the news that they were canceling the tournament, and so he broke the news to Mark Few, and Mark Few it was that same tenor that you read in that statement. He's just like, well, that's just really disappointing, and he's like, I thought we could postpone it instead of cancel it, which is like a fair question, I think, but like just the fact he wasn't even really, like that, like, oh, I understand, blah, blah. He was just mad that they wouldn't postpone it because, he thinks he has a national championship team and he's not going to get his win in his national championship. But,
asshole.
Yeah. But yeah, he was very whiny. It was the Mark Few we know and love.
Yeah. The Mark Few that most people don't notice or decline to pay attention to.
It was I was like, oh my God. It was like the perfect guy to have on for that moment. It's almost like ESPN probably knew it was coming and then maybe put him on because they knew he would be the one that beat.
It's fantastic.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Like, do you think, like, how hard would it have made any sense for them to postpone it and then try to do the tournament later?
I mean, I think it depends on how long you think this is really gonna last, right? So last night, Wazoo puts out their statement that says, okay, we are going to no fans at any of our sporting events. And again, this was like in a matter of like 12 hours, it went from everything was fine to okay, no fans to okay, everything's canceled. Right? It's just like it all happened so head spinningly fast. But at the time that came out, I kind of thought, we were speculating about the spring game, for example, right?
Right.
And, I kind of went, I mean, the spring game is 6 weeks away. Like that's, I don't like, it seems premature to just sort of declare, oh yeah, the spring game's probably fucked. Like, I mean, that's a while from now. Right. But I would say sort of given, the NCAA's decision to cancel everything, including like not just this, but like including all spring sports, right?
The College World Series,
like the College World Series, which doesn't happen until June, right? Mid to late June, is already done, and it's like, whoa! When that happened, I was like, whoa, really? That seems like a lot. I mean, because right now the NBA is like at least 2 weeks. MLS has gone 30 days. Baseball has canceled the rest of spring training and pushed back their first day by 2 weeks. So that's really about a month from now. So it's kind of like, okay, so the range seems to be, 2 weeks to a month, right? And so to wipe out something that's, 3 months away seemed, I don't know, just like a lot. But I also wonder if, they were looking at it like, okay, well, first of all, the NCAA tournament is a massive logistical monstrosity, right? Because you've got however many venues, and not that they couldn't find alternate venues. I'm sure they could, but you're dealing with a lot of venues and a lot of moving pieces, and it takes.
You had a lot of home college venues that could have been free. It takes them years. Honestly,
I mean, years in advance what the sites are.
Yeah,
this is a years ahead thing.
But the women play on home sites.
That's
to
true.
start.
That
So,
is
like,
true.
Those are going to be free.
That is
I mean,
true.
not
And
necessarily, but
and they could have gone that route with the men's tournament just as a fix if they wanted to do it. And given the fact that there's so much money on the line for this with the NCAA and with the broadcast partner,
the broadcast
Turner,
part is the
right?
ticket gates, that they were willing to do that, but I think why you saw them delay for 5 hours or whatever today behind everyone else, like, it was the broadcast, right?
So the only thing I can assume is that they know more than we do about just how long this is probably going to continue to affect things. That they just went, I mean, are we talking? Because I'm sure as they waited, and I know, we all sort of were like, what are they waiting for? What are they waiting for? What are they waiting for? Well, I mean, let's assume these are intelligent people working on this, which, they may be completely selfish and myopic and, whatever, exploitative and whatever word you want to put to it, but they're certainly not stupid. And so I assume they were sitting around trying to figure out, okay, what if, is this, are we talking a 2-week delay? Are we talking a 4-week delay? Like, what's the upper end of what this could be? And my guess is that the answer they got back was that, no, this is, people that are thinking this is going to be 2 weeks or 4 weeks are sort of pie in the sky at the moment. And that they're just going to end up continuing to push things back. That's my guess. I would be, if that's what ends up happening, that would sort of jive with the idea of, we're just going to wipe everything out and just be done with it, because otherwise I don't think it makes much sense to not postpone it. So the fact that they didn't postpone it, I think, reveals just how long of a process I think we could be in for with sports.
Yeah, and I feel like it's probably like early, but also for all we know, it's been around for longer than we realize. I mean, I think there's a lot of us here in the Northwest that are kind of looking back at some illnesses that have swept through our family, and and wondering, was that it?
Yep.
I know we've in our Slack have had several conversations about that.
Yep.
So, I mean, you hope it was, because if you're fine now,
yeah.
But yeah, so maybe that was it, and maybe we've already been getting the worst of it, and it's only going to seem worse because we're actually starting to test. But I mean, I hope that's the case. I hope it doesn't get worse, but I've seen some projections that it's going to get a heck of a lot worse. And then also this, the term they use for all these canceling all these events is social distancing. Yeah. And obviously, I'd recommend, I'm sure you would too, that Medium article on that, which shows that actually has some effect. So if you're getting pissed off that you can't go to or see any of these events or go to them in person, it seems that there's some kind of statistical proof that this can actually help stem the impact of a pandemic. So hopefully that is true, and then hopefully everyone thinks this was all an overreaction by the end, because it actually worked. And it's very sad. It's like, as a fan, and we can get into the players in a little bit maybe when we talk about WSU, but that's a good, I think, starting point for that. But as a fan, it does feel like you kind of lost something. There's something that you just every year is like, this is what we do. We watch March Madness. It's like one of the things you look forward to every year. Yeah. And you follow it. You have your office pools and all that. It's where gambling is suddenly fine.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild. And obviously I talked about some of the in-person events that that were on my social calendar, they're not going to happen, and just that just it's the Saturday the Sounders are on tonight or whatever. And obviously I would have loved to watch the Cougs again, and hopefully maybe follow a better Cougar baseball team this spring, but none of that's happening, and so yeah, you feel a little bit of a loss for that, but also at the same time it's like, and I'll read Jeff. We'll get into that. I'll read Jeff Pollard's tweet on it. I think it's really good. But I'll get, so we get into that in a little bit, but for me personally, it's still like, I get it. We don't want to all end up fucking sick, and like, it's worth it for, a couple months of missing out on a few things.
It's hard for people to see the big picture, especially teenagers and college age kids. I would expect Mark Few to be able to see the big picture, but
yeah, right.
The players, I get it.
Even in the case of Mark Few, it is not to apologize for him, but I think when you're so invested in something, in the moment, it's pretty hard to see
how
big
dare
picture.
you? How dare you defend him? What kind of person are you? God damn it!
Just here to play devil's advocate, man. Just here to raise questions.
Definitely devil's advocate.
Yeah, literally advocating for the devil.
Literally. Next thing to be singing "Sympathy for the Devil" is your intro song. Should start feeling bad for Mark Few. Asshole.
All right, have we sufficiently bummed everyone out about?
I think so.
Bumming them out.
Yeah, let's talk about happy stuff.
Yeah, which
should we take a commercial break first, though?
Eventually. Yeah, we definitely should.
All right, and we're back.
You think that commercial break was just like, wash your hands?
Sing the happy birthday song twice.
Sing the Cougar Fight song.
Yeah, there's all sorts of fun things you can sing.
If you spell it out.
Yeah, it's true. Do you have to clap during it, though? That'd get kind of messy, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can say, I don't think there's a law that you have to clap during the fight song. I think you can sing it without clapping.
What?
If you're by yourself.
No way. You got to clap. All right,
okay.
This is off-season content right here. And then we can also have like a long discussion about...
We are officially and abruptly in the off season.
God, we'll have to have a conversation about the long O during the song now too, because that definitely did not exist when I was in school.
We're on the same side on that.
That evolved somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah, we'll have a whole episode on the long O. I have to bring Preston in because that happened.
Should be a 30 for 30 investigating the long O.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it happened when Preston was in school because he does it. So he's not that much younger than us. So he's not that much younger than me. So it's only like a few year difference.
There's a line somewhere where that became a thing. But anyway, happy basketball. Yeah.
Well, first, what are you drinking?
I am drinking. I stopped by my local beer store today. I'm drinking the Melvin Mind Bloom. It's their experimental series. I haven't had a Melvin beer in a while because they were kind of naughty there for a little while. I don't know if they're less naughty now, but the beer looked good. So, yeah, it's pretty good.
Time heals all wounds.
I guess. I don't know. It looked good. I guess. I don't know. Are they still jerks?
I don't know. They haven't been in the news, but that doesn't mean anything.
That's true. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe who knows if that's a good thing. We don't know. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's like kind of a funky.
Maybe they have better lawyers.
Very floral beer. It's tasty.
Yeah, I also haven't had a Melvin beer in years.
Yeah,
I think there's plenty of options these days.
There are, but it looked good. Forgive me for my moment of weakness.
You son of a bitch. Let me eat my Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Tastes good. Can't deny it.
What
are you drinking?
I am. I took a little journey earlier this week, but that's why our podcast is late. But I found myself at Moxa Brewing near Sacramento, and picked up some beer from them. Very good brewery. Former head brewery of Abnormal Beer Co., which if you don't know what Moxa is, you probably also don't know what Abnormal is. So, whatever. So he moved and started his own brewery in Rockland, California. He's pretty interesting because he is of Filipino descent, and there are very few brewers in the industry which are not of white European descent. So that's pretty cool tidbit there. So he's been doing a lot of the hype styles from the get go. He's been doing the really thick and sweet stouts. When I was there, I had a couple good. They did a couple anniversary beers for confusing Mostra coffee, which is a coffee roaster in San Diego. So they had the Mostra, which I got confused when I was at the thing. When I was at the till, I was like, wait, is it Mostra? She's like, okay. She goes, Mostra is the coffee roaster. Moxa is the brewer. And so I'm like, okay. And they're not like related in any way, other than that they use the Mostra coffee in the beer. So I had the 5th anniversary barrel aged 5th anniversary stout, which is a big sweet stout with like all sorts of goodies in it. And then I had the 6th anniversary unbarrel, which obviously is the one from this year. So they don't have a barrel in it. They probably are going to have the barrel aged one this year, but those were good. They had a bunch of hazies. They had some crispy boy pilsners and stuff. They had a couple kind of kettle sour type things, but all around some good beer. They had some beer to go as well. So I got I got this Thirsty Eyes hazy double IPA. It is made with Galaxy and Citra. I also had it must have been the single version of it last night while watching the Cougs. The Bag of Tricks, which also was with Galaxy and Citra. But it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty solid hazy IPA. I wouldn't call it like, so crazy different from, the Skookum one or anything. Like it's probably just like on par with that. Actually pretty similar to that in character and body. And but yeah, it's a solid beer. Has some cool can art. And solid, good brewery. I was excited to get to check them out and bring some beer home. And so I wanted to have that. And truthfully, my eyes were thirsty for some more Cougs. Thought I was going to have some more Cougs today, so I thought it'd be a good beer to have Thirsty Eyes beer.
Womp womp.
But yeah, the reason we thought there was going to be more Cougs today is because Washington State finally won a Pac-12 tournament game.
I don't know, it's almost hard to hear. It's almost hard to say it. It's so hard to believe.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to believe last night. Even as they were dominating pretty much the entire game, you're like, when is this going to fall apart?
They went like more than 3/4 of the game leading by double digits.
Yep.
Like they went up by double digits about midway through the first half and then never trailed by less than 10 the rest of the way. Colorado
really didn't have a shot.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. I mean, in terms of win probability, because Colorado is such a more highly rated team in KenPom, but even that, the Colorado, it was about 50-50 at halftime, but once WSU hit those threes to start half, it never dipped below like 63% in favor of WSU.
Which is pretty wild. Like normally when you play a team that highly ranked, like it's typically pretty late in the second half before the win probability finally gives in and is like, yes, you are probably going to win this game. Like for it to be all the way up to, 50-50 by halftime and then just climbing from there is sort of bonkers.
I was hoping that Tony Miller's dunk would have brought it up to 100%, but it got it to 99.6. That was because that made it 72-50.
Yeah,
with about 5 minutes left. But that would have been a perfect moment to get it to 100%.
Close. So close.
But yeah, it was. And they went on an early run to push it to about, what was it, like 27-13. 27-13, and then from that point on, Colorado never got closer than 10, and in the second half they never got closer than 12.
Yeah, they
had to go on a 9-0 run just to get to 12. It felt like a lot of games that the Cougs have played where they go on these runs, especially recently. They go on these runs to cut it to near single digits, but then you're still really far from actually being in the game. And Colorado really was never in the game after about the first 8 minutes or so. It was all WSU, and that was just fucking fun, like to watch.
Really makes a difference when CJ Ellaby is just bombing everything away, making every shot he takes, and they're all threes. That too.
Yeah, it's not like his shot selection was entirely different than it has been recently. Like he just
made a lot of them.
He just made them. That's what all it took. He was hitting a ton of shots like that. He's missed. He missed last weekend against Arizona State, and typically he hasn't shot that well. He hasn't shot that well outside of Pullman all year, and so it was fun to watch. Obviously they got out on the break because of some turnovers a few times. Had some fun fast break. Obviously the alley-oop from Noah to CJ was a highlight. Interestingly enough, WSU's highlight package did not have it in there, which is weird.
Not that big of a deal, right?
Yeah, probably. I know. Potentially WSU's only alley-oop this season. I'm trying to think of another one.
I can't think of another one. Not an alley-oop dunk anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we don't have that many players that can dunk in actuality.
Yeah, so, especially on an oop.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's like CJ or Noah or Tony Miller probably is the list.
Or Vova.
I'm not sure Vova could actually catch an alley-oop and dunk. I don't think he gets high enough.
I'll bet he can. I can't wait for it. What you got to get there. See, the thing you got to get there with him is he's actually got to get down the floor soon enough to catch an alley-oop.
Well, it's like
that's the issue.
If it gets turned over into the basket and it just goes so fast coming back down the floor and he's just waiting down there.
Yeah. Maybe if there was like some cherry picking happening or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that was like shocking, right? Like, I mean, I thought that they had a chance. I mean, I texted somebody associated with the program like, "Hey, I'm really glad you guys ended up with Colorado. I feel like we've got a decent chance against Colorado on a neutral floor. Certainly much better than Stanford, which was the other team that we were sort of staring down, and
Arizona.
Like, I mean, these were the teams that were looking to be the bad, matchups for us. And so to end up playing Colorado, I felt, not that necessarily we were going to win, but I felt like we had a reasonably decent chance to win. And to win so convincingly, I mean, just it really shows you the power of, excellent shooting, really, especially from beyond the arc. I mean, when you go, they finished 10 of 21, but at some point I want to say it was 10 of 17 or 10 of 18 or something. I think they might have missed their last 2 or 3.
Yep.
So when you shoot that well from beyond the arc,
and you have 2 of them are 4-point plays.
Yeah, and you get a couple of 4-point plays, and and they didn't shoot all that poorly on twos either. They were above 50% on twos.
17 of 34, so 50%.
So that's for them that's a pretty high number. So they just when you are doing well on twos, and they also didn't shoot that many threes either. That was the other thing. Like they were relatively efficient on their twos. Really, really efficient on the limited threes that they took. I mean, when you only take 21, it's not. I mean, that was about 40% of their 40-ish%, maybe a little less than 40% of their threes, which is not that high of a number. Yeah. So, with that, I mean, really the only thing that held down their overall efficiency was sort of a spate of turnovers. They finished with 13, which isn't a super high number, but they also had a couple of spots where they turned it over too much too quickly. But just a really, really good offensive performance. I think some of that, obviously most of that was Ellaby, but they got contributions from Gervais Robinson. He had one of those 4-point plays, which was really cool. And so him scoring 8 points on 5 shots is kind of where you want to be with him, because you don't really want him taking more than 5 shots. Markovetsky made all 3 of his attempts to score 6 points. Tony Miller scored 9 points on 5 attempts. Could have been more if he could have hit a couple more free throws. DJ Rodman scores 6 points on 1 field goal attempt, which was a 4-point play. Jeff Pollard makes all 3 of his 2-pointers. So, they were.
One hand.
Yeah, with one hand. So really the only 2 people who didn't score more points than shots attempted was Bonton, who scored 15 points on 17 shots. He had a horrible first half, much better second half. And then Noah Williams only had 2 points on 4 attempts. So just a really good performance all around. Really impressed with Markovetsky. I think that's a guy that we can really get excited about. The offense is coming around a little bit. The defense had kind of been there whenever he was in, just being big, altering shots, getting some rebounds,
right.
Just getting his hands on balls, things like that. And really not for his size, being surprisingly not foul prone for his size in general. So
I think it helps
really
that
good.
I think his lack of athleticism serves him there because he doesn't leave his feet.
That's true.
And so he doesn't get those, he doesn't barrel into guys as much.
I think somewhere along the line he had a good coach that taught him, look, you are so freaking big, like you don't have to jump. Like for the most part. I mean, obviously to block more shots, he would need to jump a little bit.
He wasn't credited with a block, but I'm pretty sure he had at least one block.
I think he had one. But you can do a ton of things just by getting in the way.
They were only credited with 3 blocks. I think there were 3 blocks. I think some of the steals could have been
possibly
categorized as blocked.
Yeah, possibly.
But yeah, that Markovetsky had a pretty emphatic dunk, his second dunk.
Yeah, the first one was kind of wimpy. But
that little garbage time, but it was nice because he avoided 2 defenders. He rolled, the defenders crashed on him, and he just kind of was patient, kept his pivot foot, didn't travel, and just went up and kind of laid it over the rim. It was just kind of, I think Bill Walton said, he's making fun of him because he probably didn't get any air or whatsoever.
Yep.
All you're asking for him to do right there is finish that because he was open on the roll, and then you have the 2 guys crash. He did exactly what he needed to do because you actually don't even, you'd prefer him to be able to finish and not get fouled because he's not that good of a free throw shooter. And it's nice to see him finish. And then his second one, he actually had a pretty emphatic dunk. So he actually was able to jump a little bit, and then he had that little baby hook, which is it's maybe it's we're winning. And it's I think there was 20 seconds left, so it's whatever, you can test out your baby hook, blah blah, and he hit it and it looked cool, and maybe that's that's a play that he'll have in his arsenal as he gets older. But yeah, it was you mentioned Pollard again, the warrior. We've called him that before.
Yep.
That it just had, you could see him kind of look at his hand and shake it a lot because he was just, every time he had to touch the ball with that left hand, there's broken bones in there. That was not feeling good.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to imagine what that felt like. I've broken bones before. It hurts really bad. So,
and he played really well. He had a tough defensive assignment.
Yeah,
Evan Batty, who's a big motherfucker, and pretty nimble at his size, and he just played well, and actually played 20 minutes. Smith was joking before the game and said it was gonna be like a Willis Reed situation. Well, Willis Reed got 2 buckets and then came out of the game after 5 minutes or whatever. So that it was definitely more than that. He was rotating in and out with Bova and actually ended up playing more than Bova.
Yeah. I think they got more out of him than they anticipated, to be honest. It seemed like it anyway.
And he was active on the sideline too. He was into it, man. He was. It was fun. All the sideline shots, they were all into it on offense and defense stuff.
Well, and with Pollard especially, I was going to say, you see a guy who is acutely aware of his, athletic mortality, right? He's aware that this is coming to an end, and there are only so many opportunities to play. And, and you referenced his tweet, which we'll get to, but, there's only so many opportunities to play. And he seemed to really be relishing every single opportunity, and he's had a couple of injuries this year where he's been banged up, and he's always come back, and he just seemed to really be relishing the opportunity to continue to play big time basketball. And I know the other thing was with this tournament, I know that the players legitimately believed they could win the tournament. And I know that wasn't just lip service, that they weren't just, oh yeah, anybody can win this thing. Like, no, they were like looking at, I'm telling you, they were looking at the bracket. They were looking at, who do we got to play? Arizona State? Well, let's see. We beat them once. We almost beat them another time last week, and we would have beaten them if CJ Ellaby hadn't had like the worst game of the season. And then after that, you got UCLA, who they beat once and probably should have beat twice, or Cal, which is a team that beat them twice, but certainly felt like they should be able to beat. So, 3 really beatable teams left to get to the championship. And then in the championship, your most problematic teams are on the other side of the bracket. You would only have to play one of them. So, it just felt like maybe there was a chance for a crazy run. And the players believed it. And, it was very disappointing for them to have that pulled out for sure. And I'm sure, nobody more so than Pollard, who, played through so much pain to try and make it happen.
Yeah, and I talked about his defense. That obviously WSU shredded a very, very good Colorado defense, and then also stunted a very good Colorado offense. You could see their strategy. They were going to let McKinley Wright dribble and look for a shot all he wanted.
Yep.
They weren't going to double on him. They were going to let him go to the basket. And so he ended up with 21 points, took him 17 shots. He also had 5 turnovers and 1 assist. And they mentioned many times in the broadcast, McKinley Wright led the Pac-12 in assists during Pac-12 play. And he had 1 assist, and it didn't come until, he was shooting free throws at 9 minutes left and didn't have an assist. So it didn't come until basically garbage time, till he got his first assist. And he was definitely harassed by Noah Williams, Jervae Robinson. Jervae Robinson, who I should mention, that I don't think we've mentioned yet on the podcast, who got all Pac-12 honorable mention on defense.
Yeah.
So obviously people were recognizing his defense. And it was basically Robinson and Williams who kind of rotated in and out on Wright. And his stat line looks good, 24 points, 9 rebounds. But really, it took him 17 shots, 6 free throws, and 5 turnovers to get to 21 points. So that's a below average efficiency. And then obviously Tyler Bay, he had a fairly easy night, like what looked like a fairly easy 19 points. But they really weren't necessarily letting him get the ball as much as he could have. He only got 9 shots.
Yeah, only 23% of possessions used.
Yeah, 23%. You would think he would be getting more. They really shut down Batty, which was awesome.
And that's a guy who killed him in the first game, if I remember right.
He absolutely destroyed them. Because he's that big, wide body.
Yeah, he's a load.
Who's actually more athletic, even though he's kind of large. But yeah, they totally shut him down. Like, he was 1 of 7. Only 2 free throws, 4 points. So Wright and Bay had 40. No one else had more than 7. Some guy named Dalen Kuntz off the bench hit a couple threes, or hit a 3, I think, at the end. And Seward didn't get that many open looks. They were contesting all the 3-point shooters.
Seward only took 2 threes. And they were pretty early, if I remember right. And that was it.
Yeah.
He never got a chance to get off. Yeah,
and that's a big guy. He's obviously a big guy, but also just to not let him get off. And then a lot of the other shooters, when you saw the broadcast lamented that they were not making the shots as much, but they were if the only way they were getting open looks, they were 3 or 4 feet behind the 3-point line. That would be the open looks that they had. And you see a lot of guys that were 0 from the 3-point line. It was really McKinley Wright was the only guy that was hitting threes. If it wasn't for McKinley Wright, they would have been run off the floor even more. But still, they forced him into 5 turnovers. So it's it was a very impressive defensive performance. They clearly adjusted. Colorado had their star player, which they did not have in the first matchup, and WSU played orders of magnitude better defense. And they clearly had a plan, and they executed it. Definitely one of the, perhaps the best all-around game from the Cougs all season. And like you said, they looked motivated, and they were motivated, and it was a joy to watch, and I'll watch it many times throughout the off season here.
They did a great job of making so early in the game when it was kind of back and forth before WC went on their spurt. Colorado was getting to the rim a lot,
right?
Either that or the free throw line. They were not doing a good job keeping them away from the rim. Once WSU went on that run, they also at the same time tweaked something, and I'm not a coach, so I don't know exactly what they did, but they did something that an adjustment they made to keep Colorado out of the paint, and it just stuck really for the rest of the game. They just did an exceptional job at forcing Colorado into difficult shots. Really did a tremendous job defensive rebounding. It just was, Colorado was hopeless out there. And I think, every once in a while you see this in a conference tournament game where, a team just sort of thinks that they're going to, sleepwalk to the next round, a team maybe they've already beaten once in the season. And, maybe they don't play as hard as they need to, or just in a funk or whatever. Cause you go play in this game, there's practically nobody in the arena. And, for them, it was really late, right? So the game was at 8:30, actually tipped off, I think about 8:45, I think, Pacific time, which was, 9:45, their own local time. So, you're dealing with a really late game for those players, and, they just looked kind of flat. And, for a team that had lost 4 games in a row, that may have played into it as well going into the game. But a team that had lost 4 games in a row who pretty badly needed a win to shore up their, hypothetical NCAA seeding, was kind of crazy that they didn't come with a better effort. But I think the Cougs had, 90% to do with that. And major credit to Kyle Smith and his staff for their coaching, for their game plan. If there's one thing, they are going to have a game plan, and it's really only a matter of whether they execute it. And more often than not this year, they've pulled it off. So it was really awesome to end the season with that kind of a game. I had a tweet at the beginning of the game. I said, "Please don't lose, Cougs. I'm not ready for this season to be over yet." And they didn't lose, and the season's over anyway. So I'm bummed.
It's a real bummer. Yeah, because as we've said many times, like, this is such a lovable team.
Yeah.
It literally
they're just fun to watch play.
They're
man.
fun to watch. Obviously they're fast paced. They have some interesting guys. They work so hard defensively. They're legitimately fun to watch defensively because you just see the work. Guys like Noah Williams and Tony Miller, and they're just kind of like spark plug type dudes. And DJ Rodman, I love watching DJ Rodman play. That dude just is balls to the wall all the time, and he played really well against Colorado. It's interesting that there's only certain teams where he would get a lot of run, and they obviously felt that he had a good matchup here, and he clearly did. I thought he probably could have had more points. They kind of ignored him in the first half. He was open for some threes, but they found him in the second half for that 4-point play. But what a shot, by the way. He pump faked, did a step back, and then got fouled and hit the 3. He's definitely a piece that'll be exciting. But we'll talk about that in maybe next podcast. But
we got many podcasts where we could talk about the future.
But it was this team was just fun to watch, and we'll probably lay that out again in a future podcast. But it was that was a bummer of it. WSU finally wins a Pac-12 tournament game, and like you said, this was about as good of a shakeout of a bracket for an 11 seed that you could ever find, because you got probably. Most likely you're going to play you're getting a team in the quarterfinals that you've already beaten and almost, took to the last minute on the road. And then you probably get in a team that you've already beaten, or I'm assuming UCLA beats Cal, although Cal's been pretty weird, whatever. So if it's UCLA, you've already beaten them, and then you took them to overtime on the road. So it's like you said, the coaching staff was thinking that, and so this was kind of just you kind of went to bed last night with this feeling. I mean, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm sure it was in the back of yours, like there might not be games tomorrow, like it might be canceled, especially after the Rudy Gobert stuff came up.
Yep.
But yeah, so it was crazy just to think last night, shit, they could make a run. This could be really fun, even if it ended, even if they just went one more. Even if they just played tomorrow night and beat Arizona State, just to get 2 games, that would have been such a run. I don't think WSU's ever won 2 games in the conference tournament.
Certainly not in the modern iteration.
Not in the modern one. I can't tell you about the one that was in the 80s and stuff, but yeah, it was just it was just wild to think last night, we could beat Arizona State tomorrow night. I could spend my evening again, 8:30 to 11, watching the Cougs win again. And these are that's what makes you can be the grumpiest about who the automatic bid should go to, blah blah blah, but these conference tournaments are so much fun. It's because these runs these teams can go on where it's day to day, they win and they play the next day. It's we saw Wyoming get to the semifinals of the Mountain West conference tournament, and they were just horrendous, and then beat a couple pretty good teams on the way to get into this, and then took Utah State to the last, they pushed them to the last 5 minutes or so. And so that was fun to run to watch. And I kept thinking about Wyoming, even though WC's a lot better than them and had already beaten a lot of these teams. But it was just oh man, they could make this run.
Yeah.
I was already thinking what if they make the run? They're not going to allow fans in the arena. Maybe Jeff and I will have to ask for credentials from WSU so we can go to the games.
Yeah.
So then today it was such a bummer. Add an extra layer of bummer on it is that WSU doesn't get to keep going. And I know they're not alone in that. There's a lot of teams that had the same feeling, especially a lot of teams. You think about a school like Rutgers, who has had and will continue to have the longest stretch of not going to an NCAA tournament of any Power 5.
Yeah, how bad does that suck?
And yeah, they don't get to go to the tournament, and they were going to go. They were going to get an at-large bid.
I don't feel bad for Gonzaga, but I do feel a bit bad for them or any of the other the one bid leagues where guys, I can't think of any team off the top of my head because I didn't follow the smaller low major tournaments as closely as I normally do this year, but I do feel legitimately disappointed for those schools, and for the Wazoo guys, again, Jeff Pollard, putting it all out there to keep playing, as long as he could. Those guys really do put a lot of time and effort into trying to be great, and I know that Kyle Smith really pushed them really, really hard from the time they ended up on campus. And it's not an accident that when he showed up, he said, "Hey, look, we'd love to have everybody stay. We'd love to have everybody stay." And then within a matter of however many months, virtually all of them left. Right? He was just asking them to do things they hadn't been asked to do before. Certainly not under Ernie Kent. So. He's a tough coach. He asks a lot out of his players, but his players respect him and like him. And
that's
guys,
what you could see.
They really played hard for each other.
They responded so much, and even in this game, when you were watching, just the bench was standing almost the whole time. It was just, and you see that, and they very clearly respect and probably love Kyle Smith and you watch when they sing the Pullman song after, which is that became public knowledge midway through the year, and now it was okay for WSU to share it after every win, which is that we're from Pullman, freaking Pullman, and it's so cool, like this kind of bond that Kyle Smith brings with his leadership. And then Pollard was just, we poke fun at his shortcomings, but we have before. But obviously, I think he was above and beyond our expectations this year of what he could do, particularly defensively. And he was given such a more a bigger responsibility on both ends of the floor this year than he's ever had, and he's a big reason why the team was better. And then he just playing with going to the hospital and coming back and coming into a game, this is like movie shit, playing with a broken hand, playing 20 minutes in a Pac-12 tournament game with a fucking broken hand. I did want to read his tweet, which is probably obviously Noah Williams was very mad. He had kind of a bit of a pissed off tweet, which I don't blame him. But and then we obviously you may know better how to pronounce his name than I do, but John Andrzejczyk. Andrzejczyk was pretty. He tweeted that he felt like we could make a run, and then Pollard tweets, "No way! After fighting through everything this team has been through, which we've went through that, and we'll go through that again. But I understand why. But losing another chance to fight for my brothers hurts me so bad. Can't believe it." That's like, he sums it up. That's like, this has got like, he went out and played 20 minutes with a broken hand yesterday so he could extend his college career.
Yep. And
then it's he can't do it. Like, it's totally out of his control. And that was real, that you feel for those guys. Obviously we mostly, have contact with the WSU players, so we feel for them, but this is a position that a lot of players are in. That's why you've seen, there's quite a bit of emotion from people, like you're watching ESPN and watching Twitter and stuff, for the players in particular. There's a different emotion for these players than you get for the NBA, the professional teams, because of the limitation of how long they can play.
Right. And the eligibility thing is,
yeah,
And
so, Jeff Pollard is done, man. Like,
he's done.
And like you said, his basketball career is over. And his time with WSU is over. Like, it's not like he can sign on for another contract and come back and play in Pullman next year. You even saw people going as far as, even for the basketball players, giving them another year of eligibility.
That would be stupid.
But they're already saying that. They are saying it, which for the spring sports, which wouldn't be that crazy.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but basketball, it's like, oh well, they play the entire season. No. But maybe you can bring them back for the postseason next year if you want.
There we go. You got to sit out the whole year, but you can play in the postseason.
So again, I've been trying to shower Jeff Pollard with praise and love for the last few weeks, because we've kind of, in the middle of the season, probably gave him a lot of shit. But he definitely was a big reason why the Cougs were better this year. I mean,
really limited basketball player, there's no arguing that, but a really, really important piece on that team. And I think it can be both. You can talk about a guy who, has, really just about two moves under the basket and isn't a good rebounder, and, all the other things that he's not. But at the same time, you can also talk about, how not having him against the Arizona schools, it was extremely clear how important he was to that defense. Maybe it was as much just not having another competent big body to put in there, right? Because you went from having him playing, 30 plus minutes and, Vova maybe playing, 5 to 10 to, Vova playing 20 to 30 and Tony Miller, all 6'6", 200-ish pounds of him, playing center. So, they just didn't have enough big bodies, down low, particularly after Deion James went down, 5 games into the season or whatever it was. And so, when you took Pollard out of there, you went, ay, I mean, it was kind of a mess. And Ernie Kent, is kind of a dipshit on a lot of levels. But the one thing he did say that I think, I was inclined to roll my eyes out a little bit, but I think, did become clear through this year is just that, Jeff Pollard's kind of the heart and soul. He's a heart and soul kind of guy. And, again, it's an easy thing to poke fun at, but there's something to it. There's definitely something to it with certain guys, and he's that kind of guy. He appears to organize the defense. He's always in the right spot, whether he can make the athletic play or not, is sometimes a little bit hit and miss, but he's always going to be in the right spot, and he's always you can rely on him, you can count on him. And, as a player, there's really something to be said for knowing that your teammate is going to be in the right spot we saw, we watched a football defense this fall where you had 11 guys who clearly did not trust that their teammates were going to be in the right spot or doing their job in the right way. Jeff Pollard was definitely that guy. And again, you could tell the genuine affection that his teammates had for him and he had for them. And just the whole story of him coming back to Pullman after having opportunities to grad transfer, not really knowing what it was going to be like. I mean, you had a brand new coach. That thing, we know now it's all, sunshine and rainbows and everybody loves each other, but, it could have been bad. It could have gone terribly. He could have, clashed. I don't know. Jeff Pollard probably doesn't clash with anybody. He liked Ernie Kent, so he probably likes everyone, but, it may have gone sideways with Kyle Smith, or it might have been a bad season. So, there was nothing guaranteed there, and just a cool story. And, we love those. And, even though it didn't end maybe the way they wanted it to, they accomplished a lot of awesome stuff. If Kyle Smith is still here in 5 years, we're going to look back at this team as setting that foundation, and Jeff Pollard will be a big part of that with, the games that they won in the Pac-12 and winning a Pac-12 conference game and finishing with, they didn't finish with a losing record or winning record, but they finished with a non-losing record for the first time in 8 years. So that's nothing to turn your nose up at when you've been where Wazoo has been. So, it's not all bad. And I suspect with the passage of time, they'll definitely be able to appreciate what they accomplished.
Yeah. And I want to give some love to Gervais Robinson as well.
Absolutely.
I found myself, I was rewatching the game this afternoon and I was getting, the word I used on the Kook Center's chat was wistful for Gervais Robinson, who I never honestly thought, coming into the season when you and I thought he was going to barely play.
Yeah. If Jalen Shedd plays,
he might not.
May well have not played a lot. So,
but yeah, like I said before, he turned into a heck of a defensive player, especially considering his size. Like he was guarding guards that were typically bigger and more athletic than he is, and so it was. He definitely, just like Pollard, he had a very clear, limited offense, but he had some big games within that. I think his 3-point shooting at times was a bit of a surprise, and he had there's some games where his 3-point shooting was huge, and he was good enough at it that defenses had to pay attention to that.
He ended up shooting 34% from three, which isn't good, but also isn't a disaster.
Also pretty good this year in the first year moving that line back. I think it was probably a little better than what you'd expect. But yeah, like he was solid. Obviously getting that praise from having honorable mention defensive. He turned into just a great Kyle Smith player when he was an Ernie Kent recruit, but he was a great Kyle Smith player because he could play defense on the perimeter he had a great last game himself, like we mentioned. Like he was very efficient. I think he had a big bucket that stopped Colorado's. He obviously had that 4-point play, which is huge, and kind of pushed the lead to a double-digit margin in the first half. But he also had a big bucket that stopped Colorado's 9-0 run off the inbounds, made a tough layup. So and I think he played some pretty good defense. McKinley Wright is rarely defended well, truthfully. So you can't expect him to be shut down, but he played some good defense. And like I said, they limited him from being a creator. For others, he was only a creator for himself. And Robinson and Williams and were a big part of that. But I think having that senior guy busting his ass is always a good sign for the younger guys on the team. Gervais just seemed to always have a great attitude, and he had some great moments this year as well. I'm glad he got the chance to try to show out on senior night. It didn't work out the way he wanted, but I think it would have been better if Bonton was there. But he had some good moments this year, particularly defensively. And again, like you said, he laid a foundation, kind of proved that you can turn guys into these defensive guys. I think we did, when we were looking at the team, we're like, Gervais is one of the more defensive inclined players when Smith was coming in, so we figured he would stick around. But he turned out to be a pretty solid defender, especially given that he's 6'2" is what they say he is, and 190 or whatever. So he's not a big guy, but he plays some damn good defense. I think he's kind of him and Pollard are similar. I think Pollard's a little more noticeable because he's a big man and scores a bit more. But yeah, otherwise, him, Gervais and Pollard, the guys that came back to play their senior year at WSU when they lost their original coach, both deserve some praise to get us to that 16-16 record. I know a lot of other programs would scoff at that, but then they bounced back from having a really shitty end to the season, broken up by the UW win. But otherwise, it was bad. It was bad coming into this tournament game, and they both played their butts off, and along with a lot of the players on the team, and WSU got a good result out of it to finish the season, a win in the last full college basketball game of the year.
Yeah, not too many people get to say that, right? Almost every team makes it to their conference tournament. I mean, there are still some conferences that eliminate some of their bottom teams, but for the most part, if you finish your season with a win, you're holding up a trophy. That's pretty much it. So these guys got to finish their season with a win, even though they didn't necessarily get to hold a trophy. So I mean, it's kind of a cool deal.
Not only did they finish their season with a win, they finished the entire NCAA season.
Yeah, I mean that makes us national champs. Obviously,
we are national championship.
Because the team that wins the last game wins the championship.
That's how it's worked every other season I've watched.
Yeah, I think that's the unwritten rule for sure.
Yep.
So
2020 national champs.
Print
Wazoo.
the shirts.
Print them up.
Print them up. We finished 127 in Ken Palm. That's pretty cool.
Good. And I think most remarkable was number 83 in defense.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a, you're talking, they were 284 last year.
Yeah. 200 spots improved.
And as we mentioned, they dropped on offense, but there's a couple things. One, Robo Franks went graduated. So I guarantee, they finished 182 in offense with what Ernie had coming back. I don't really believe that they would have been any better than that.
No.
And given that Kyle Smith barely focused on offense at all for the first half of the season.
Yeah.
I think we can kind of forgive the offense, but man, to immediately come in and improve 200 on defense. Yeah, the way this is a defensive squad. They finished 127. We can go. We'll have a full breakdown.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll tear all this down eventually. But what's remarkable is how they got there, right? You look at some of the peripheral numbers and you just go oh my gosh, the improvement in. I mean the shooting defense got better, not insanely better, but it got better. But the turnovers, the defensive rebounding, those two things in particular defensively, really were the catalyst for such an insane improvement. I mean, for people to realize to go from 284 to 83, I mean, that's 200 spots. Okay, that's a huge jump. But to try and contextualize it a little bit, that's 12 points per 100 possessions better. A typical game has like 70 possessions. So you're talking like they were, 9 points better per game, essentially, per 70 possessions. That's insane. That is such an improvement. That's kind of hard to wrap your brain around. So, yeah, Kyle Smith, the God. I hope he sticks around as long as he wants. Yeah, I'm super excited about next year for sure.
I do wish I was watching the Cougs take down ASU instead of talking to you.
Me too, man. Me too. But, oh, well, I guess we'll be watching, I don't know, reruns of games on TV. That'd be my guess what they're going to do. I know I have an entire DVR full of games that I've never watched. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll go watch some Hawaii games, check out, the run and shoot. That's probably a good idea. Go back and watch any of the Coug games I have recorded. I don't have that many recorded though, because I don't have Pac-12 Network on YouTube TV. So,
yeah, I've been going through and all the full, like the original recordings of the broadcasts. I'll look through the menu and try to find when they replay it, and so I get the 90-minute one instead of like my. Just to make sure it records overtime, my DVR always records like 3 hours for a basketball game.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to get the 90-minute one. Although I noticed the one today, it skipped. It was like 12 to 8, and then suddenly it was 27 to 15. So it skipped a few things. But yeah, it was a fun game. I'm glad that we got that before all the bad news rolled in.
Yeah.
And
get to end the year with a smile.
Yeah, for sure. Also, to flip a game where a team smacked you around the first time and just smack them around the second time.
Yep.
I was kind of mad that Colorado hit that garbage time 3. 82-65.
I know. I'm thinking like, oh man, I wanted to win by 20. That would have really improved our Ken Palm ranking. But oh well.
Yeah, 127 from 207. Pretty good.
Pretty good. I think we've covered it.
Man, this is a weird. It's a weird time. I just found out the Point Defiant Zoo is closing for the rest of the month, so I don't know if my kid's going to be able to leave the house, so she's probably going to go crazy.
Man. I know. I'm hoping I don't kill my children over the next 6 weeks.
Luckily, her grandpa was in town on Monday and took her to the zoo for 4 hours, so hopefully she got her fill.
I hope so.
I've certainly never spent that much time with her, so... hopefully she got her fill and she'll be fine.
Yeah, this is going to be like summer vacation except without the sunshine, because like by the end of summer vacation I'm usually ready to go back to school just because I've been around my children every day for 2 months. But this one's going to be worse. So hopefully the weather's been okay. So hopefully the weather holds out for most of it, because if it rains and they're like inside, and I might murder somebody. Metaphorically, of course, because I love my children.
Metaphorically murder.
I wouldn't, actually murder my children. So, all right. Well, this has been Podcast versus Everyone.
Yeah, and it feels so final, but we're still going to have an episode for you every week.
Yes, we are. I don't know what we'll talk about, but we will find something. Maybe we'll have to fire up the Everyone in 60 machine again.
Yeah, I think so.
Start with the UCLA game.
No? Oh, wait, are you talking about the 1988 UCLA game? No, we have to get to this. No.
No. Okay, one last thing.
The 1988 UCLA game where WSU went on the road.
The
number one team in the country.
Troy
Aikman is currently losing to the 2012 Apple Cup.
God.
Although Oh no, because there's a check mark because that's the one I voted for.
Recency bias is a hell of a thing, man.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It might be an insurmountable lead too. Almost 52% to 40, almost 48%. That's you got the old heads getting mad, but man, that 2012 Apple Cup, I get it. It's the last time
it was fun, but come on, you go on the road and beat the number one team in the country. Get real. That's incredible. And I've watched, so Pac-12 Network has a little, they have 1 or 2 hour retrospective on that particular game. And I've watched that. And so for me, 1988, I was 11 and I was definitely 100%, Husky fan at that point. So I was barely aware of the existence of that game, up until the point at which I became a Coug. And so, but now I'm that's incredible. That's so cool, to watch the little Pac-12 Network production of it and just think that's amazing. And then to see it getting basically its ass kicked in a Twitter poll is come on, man. I know the old people, if they ran that poll on Facebook, maybe 1988.
If you put it on our diehard Cougs, which my sister affectionately refers to as diehard boomers. Okay, not so.
I don't know though. They're 100%. They are full on Apple Cup people. They might just go with the Apple Cup. But anyway.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's you beat a 6-win UW team, or you beat the number one team in the country, a team that WSU had not often beat up until that point. I don't know. But yeah, so if you want any directive from this podcast, go to Nick Rolovich's Twitter account. It's gonna actually, by the time you listen to this, it's gonna be too late because there's only 7 hours left on the vote.
I know.
Well, if you didn't vote, if you voted for 2012 Apple Cup, I'm very disappointed in you.
Super disappointed.
Hopefully it makes this miraculous comeback while everyone is sleeping.
It's going to need a miracle. There's 2,000 votes, and it's behind by 3%. So, I don't know. What's that work out to? 300 votes, I think. I don't know. It's late, and I'm an English
600,
teacher.
Jeff.
600 votes? Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, not 600. That'd be 30%. So it's actually not that many votes, but I just don't think anyway. It's almost 10:30, and so the next 7 hours are just while people are sleeping. So I don't think it's going to make.
I don't think so either. I think it's going to be over by the time everybody gets this. So,
damn it, Cougs.
Yeah, Jim Moore is definitely offended.
Oh yeah, I saw he's all over in the mentions.
Come on, it was UCLA on the road. The Bruins are number one in the country. Troy Aikman was their QB. I don't think we've ever beaten a number one before or since. And then later,
that's true. They have not.
Good Lord, fellow Cougs. Chris Dyko, one of the greatest Cougs ever, was on the O-line that gave Richie Swinton room to run and help us post the biggest upset in school history. Love the 2012 Apple Cup, but this matchup is an easy call for 1988 win at UCLA.
Where's Hollyweird Coug when you need him?
Oh, man, we need that guy. I hope he listens to the podcast. He hasn't come to Coug Center in forever either.
Yeah, he'd be schooling some folks.
I know. You can tell him all about it in a 1,000-word series of tweets. It'd be great.
It's probably why he's not on Twitter.
Maybe. All right. Well, follow us on Twitter and subscribe and all that good stuff.
Rate 5 stars. Leave us a review.
We like 5 stars.
Send us an email. podcastversuseveryone@gmail.com.
I have a feeling we're going to have to start pumping the emails a little bit more.
Yeah, please, podcast versus everyone. We might have to start doing this up top.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to.
podcastversuseveryone@gmail.com. Send us questions. Yeah. We will start answering them on the air.
Promise.
Because on the air, or whatever you call it, on the digital, whatever.
Digital recording.
On the bytes.
Yeah.
And because honestly, we need it.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to need it.
Send us your ideas on things to talk about.
That'd be good too.
Yeah, or questions, which is basically the same thing.
Like I said earlier today on Slack, I was like, I'm really thinking about like hate listening to sports radio over the next few weeks just to see how bad it gets with literally nothing to talk. Like I don't like listening to sports radio for the most part anyway. I listen to, I have selected podcasts like I think probably you do as well, but I'm just wondering what in the hell they're going to talk about. And I'm so curious, like 2 weeks from now, when there haven't been games in any sport for 2 weeks, nothing has happened. Like, what are they going to be talking about? I'm legitimately curious. And I was like, okay, I guess we'll find out who the really creative people are. We're going to find out pretty quick. I think that you and I are not very creative. So we're definitely going to rely on other people to help us out here.
Okay, before we go.
What now?
I just refreshed my Twitter and someone I retweeted. There's a picture of like at a Safeway, and the clean rainbow kale organic is totally gone. And then the person says, only in San Francisco would people panic buy organic kale.
Oh
Kale
my
is
God.
gross.
I didn't even talk about this earlier. I went to Costco today. Good Lord. My God. You would think the apocalypse was coming. Better stock up on everything. Ah!
What the hell are these people doing with the fucking cache of toilet paper they have? No, I was going for a run today, and I was running through the Proctor district, and there's these people with it. They were obviously coming from the grocery store, looked like Men Market or something in the Proctor district, and they were carrying a normal package of toilet, just one. And I pointed to them. I was running. I said, precious goods, and they laughed. They were like, "Yeah, you better watch out." And like, I was like,
Black market.
I kind of almost like stopped at Met Market just to see, but hey, man, I was running. I didn't know if if they have Apple Pay for my watch, but yeah. So it's I don't know. I don't get the buying cases of bottled water and toilet paper thing.
Well, like the toilet paper one, I'm like, I guess like if you get quarantined or something and you need toilet paper.
Yeah, but like usually
maybe.
you buy two weeks worth of toilet paper when you buy toilet paper.
Right. And I mean that like the industrial size toilet paper at Costco like lasts, I don't know, like
plenty of time.
Like I'm trying to think. I think we buy one every couple of months. And we've got 5 people in our house. So I don't know. It was funny. So this. Yesterday I was like, oh, we need more toilet paper. I went downstairs to where we stored the toilet paper and we didn't have any more. And I went, shit. And because I knew what the situation was at Costco too. I'm like, I can't just go to Costco and buy more toilet paper. But then I went out to our garage and was looking for something else and then discovered some toilet paper that we moved with us like 4 years ago that never got moved inside. So there's like 6 rolls of toilet paper in the garage. So we're good. We're good. We got lots of toilet paper now.
I don't know. 6 rolls doesn't sound like a lot for a family of 5.
It's gonna last us at least a week or two. So I think we're okay. By that time, Costco will have more.
Yeah. Well,
I hope. Either that or I'm going to be on Craigslist looking for black market toilet paper.
Yeah. I think we all will. Yeah, obviously, someone's holding. Someone's holding.
Someone is. Someone stockpiled it all.
We're gonna be spending like they're gonna be the smart ones. We're gonna be spending hundreds of dollars for like 4 rolls of toilet paper.
Pretty soon, someone's gonna be standing on the corner with like stacks of toilet paper, going toilet paper for sale.
Yeah. What if I just was running by that lady and snatched the toilet paper out of her hand and just kept running? I'm like, you can't catch me. I'm doing an 8-minute mile pace right now. I know you can't run that fast.
You can't run that fast. See you later. Ha ha. That's what it's going to come down to. We're going to be like stealing toilet paper from each other. People are going to be breaking into houses, holding at gunpoint. Where's your toilet paper? I need to wipe my ass right now, okay?
We're going to be taking a lot of showers.
It's going to be like,
took a shit. Time to take a shower.
It's going to be like jump right in the shower.
Just
oh dear God!
Pull the head down, just right, point directly, Get taken care of.
Hopefully you got one of those shower heads you can actually take off the, just, oh my God. This podcast's gone off the rails, Craig.
No, pro tip, what we did is just in case we bought the moistened wipes.
Yeah, the flushable
wipes.
wipes.
The flushable wipes.
Yeah, they had lots of those at Costco.
They do say right on them, only flush one at a time. So you'd have to wipe, and if that didn't take care of it, you got to flush and then wait, sitting on the toilet, and then flush the could be a process, but hey, better than
not having any.
A poopy butt, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
Stop hoarding toilet papers, you fucking...
Yeah, if that's you, screw you.
Fucking
You're
weirdos.
the problem.
By a normal amount. God. All right.
Okay.
I think the podcast was already over, but we got some bonus content.
Yeah, y'all got bonus poopy butt content. Wiping your ass content. Oh my God, we're up to an hour and 40. Golly. Yeah, we should go. Go Cougs, Craig.
Go Cougs.